Hi, I'm Enoch Riese.
And I'm Tara Davis.
2 years ago, in 2011, we made a fisting day video with some friends of ours. And now we're going to do a follow-up because in 2 years we've learned a lot of things.
Yeah, 2 years is a long time.
Lots of stuff has changed.
It's true.
Yeah, we both live in Brooklyn now.
Yeah, you do.
We're such hipsters.
I know. I'm not a hipster.
You moved to Brooklyn. I also moved to Brooklyn.
I know, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So.
Fisting hipsters.
Fisting hipsters. Last time we were fisting enthusiasts.
I know.
This time we're fisting hipsters. We're also fisting evangelists.
Yeah,
we're also
totally.
femme evangelists.
Totally. Definitely femme evangelists.
Yeah. So the things that in our last video, we kind of talked about...
we talked about some misconceptions around fisting, a little bit about that. Talked about what hands do when they're inside orifices.
We're going to go over some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about kind of our hands and a little bit about the hands that have been inside. That hasn't changed. Still,
mine are still small.
Yeah, mine are still not small. But another thing that's changed since the video is I've actually fisted people. In our first video 2 years ago, I had only been fisted. But now I have been fisting. It's great. Yeah.
It's very exciting change.
Yeah, it is. And so coming from a place of having larger hands and being pretty enthusiastic, I've definitely learned a lot about how to fist with larger hands.
And do you think that being a person who likes being fisted has made you like really good at fisting people?
No.
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 Okay.
It makes me really enthusiastic about fisting people, and I'm really excited to try it with all types of new bodies. But I think that because the way I've learned that everyone receives fisting in different ways, and the way that I'm hot for being fisted, or the ease or complications that come with fisting for my body, totally different everywhere else.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that I know what I like, and so I can, especially with someone who's new to being fisted, I can totally say, these are things that have worked for me. These might work for you too. Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't have assumed that it would make you better at fisting, because I mean I am often the first person who fists a person because I have really small hands, as we've been over. And also because I have sex with a lot of people who haven't had a lot of hand sex.
Totally.
And yeah, a lot of the time I'm like, so this is a thing that, I've gotten good responses about in the past. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you won't. And every body is different. Which is a really cool thing about body.
Yeah.
And bodies change, which is also a cool thing about bodies.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I still have not been fisted, so that has not changed. I still can't take a single finger, so that has not changed. But I've fisted a lot more people, so I know a lot more about fisting. One of the exciting things that happened since the last time that Tara and I made a fisting video is that we ran a fisting demo together.
Yeah, we hosted a play space at a really fantastic conference called No Lose.
And we began the party with a fisting demo. We got to each of us fist somebody right next to one another. I highly recommend, if you have not fisted a person next to your best friend who is also fisting a person, that you go ahead and find a way to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's a bonding experience.
Yeah, it is a bonding experience. I think that we're both fairly performative people, and so it was really nice to kind of... I've also, like, this fisting and topping are not the same thing, right? But I think that as I've also been fisting people, I've also been... I was once a bottom, now I am a switch. So that means I like to do the things and get the things and receive the power and give the power. Anyway, but it was really cool to like kind of have this like performative topping moment with you. Like it was great.
Yeah. And it's a fascinating thing to, you know, we've sat here, we've talked about sex, both of us have been sex educators in various capacities, but to be talking about the sex that you are, like, while you're having it, to be explaining, this is what I'm doing right now, person who I'm doing it to, can you talk about it? Oh, actually, no, you can't. You're busy. All right. That was really cool. And we got some great questions.
Yeah.
And we got to show how, I mean, fisting is a really athletic way to have sex.
It is.
And that's something that we did not cover in our last video, that, like, fisting is not the same as using less than your whole hand.
Yeah, it's true.
In a person.
I know for me, as someone who likes to receive fisting, I'm a lot of work. Fisting me is a lot of work. My body does not just kind of exist there for penetration. It pushes back, it sucks in, it does all of those cool things.
Yeah.
And your whole forearm is involved. Your like
whole
upper
body.
Arms are your
you have
back.
to put your whole
lower
body
back.
into
You're
it.
like, ugh, it's like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of really satisfying work, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, and then you get to be.
I fucked someone who like fucked themselves on my hand, and that was really hot because they were doing all the work. So they were like on top of me, like fucking themselves on my hand, and it was great.
Yeah.
So there is that. You could totally find someone who is strapping and athletic or whatever.
Yeah, if it's not your scene to be working
athletic,
that hard.
I don't know. Or just like someone who likes to work.
Yeah.
And make them work.
But I tend to think that it's really satisfying to have the soreness after fucking somebody.
We are two different people.
It's true.
What's my number one complaint since being a person who dates? And
my arms are tired.
My arms hurt. My back hurts.
Arms are tired.
This was so much fun, but.
I mean, I like a good brag wine.
Yeah.
I like to be like, oh, I can barely move today. But that's never a bad thing for me.
It's not a bad thing for me either. I'm just.
Yeah, but I really love, and the ways that fisting can hurt you as a top are unique and wonderful. You know, one of the things that we mentioned in our last video is that you can, if you are being fisted, take a person's hand. Just take it right away from them. You can clamp around that hand and never let go. And that, as a person whose hand it is, can actually be quite painful. Yes. Sometimes you do need the person to let go. Sometimes the person is not intentionally taking your hand from you.
Sometimes you cannot not do that thing.
Fisting is a very intense way to get fucked.
One of my favorite things before I've had sex with someone who I'm planning on having sex with, I like to look at their hands. And, you know, their hand size does not matter for me when it comes to fisting. I just like to imagine their hands inside of my body. It's intense. It's like a hand inside of your body, but I feel like the build up to fisting is also really amazing. And not just the how many fingers are we starting out with and then moving up to, just like the idea of like requesting fisting, especially with someone who is either really new to fisting or really likes fisting. Those are my two favorite people to have fist me, because they're both enthusiastic in their own special ways.
Those are my two favorite people to fist. Two funny and brief stories in that vein. They will be brief. Okay. One, something that was really, really exciting for me is that an ex of mine was telling me that because of me, they are now able to teach people how to fist them. Yeah. And I was like, that's one, because I mean, everybody deserves to be fisted if they want that. And everybody deserves to get it from partners who, you know, aren't as experienced. And the second one is I went on a date with a person once, and we had talked about how we were, you know, both interested in fisting on, you know, the complementary sides of that process. And sort of about halfway through the date, she was like, okay, so let's see these hands. So I showed her my hands, and she was like, well, I don't know, these are kind of small.
Oh.
And then I had to go to bed with her, you know, like I had to prove that, like, yes, my hands are small, yes, that is a good thing. And because I think it's a good thing. I mean, I feel very lucky to have hands that can fit inside lots and lots of people.
Yeah. I will say, like, in my experience, were you done with your story?
Almost.
Okay, finish your story.
Well, to her credit, my hands were a little small for her.
Okay.
But there are some really cool things you can do if your hands are too small for a person.
Yeah. I will say, like, I can take a very large fist in my cunt. But I have fun enjoyment with fists of all sizes.
Yeah.
I have never had... Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a fist in my body that was not impactful in some way. Okay. So Enoch also, we'll talk about this in a second, but Enoch carries gloves with him around all the time, and usually in very nice containers. And I carry my gloves in a little black satin bag, which is great. But
do they get fluff on them ever?
It's a black satin bag. Okay. It's like satin.
Okay.
It's not like it's not.
I know
it
it's
doesn't
not.
have any fibers that like hang out.
I carry my gloves in a little plastic case. This is actually this is a travel Q-tip case, and I like it because it opens. I can take a single glove out, unroll it. I've been carrying exclusively nitrile now. I know latex is nice. Latex is nice, but not everybody can do it.
It's true.
And so...
Yeah. I mean, and when you look at the two gloves, you can't really tell much of a difference between the nitrile and the latex. The nitrile is a bit more stiff. And I don't say that it isn't stiff. It isn't like putting paper on your hands. It just has more of a...
Yeah, it doesn't stretch in the same way.
Right.
If it doesn't fit your hand
like
really well...
it molds itself to your hand, basically.
But the great thing about gloves for fisting, and I've recently been asked, why even wear gloves during sex? Do you wear it to protect the person whose hand it is, or do you wear it to protect the person who the hand is going into? And I generally wear it to protect the person who the hand is going into, because hands are dirty. Hands are really dirty, and you don't want to get up and wash your hands when you're like in the middle of stuff. You just put a glove on it.
Yeah.
But the other great thing about gloves is that they don't absorb lube in the way that your hand might.
Right.
And so
both
you can
lube and body fluid.
And body fluids. And so you can get a glove a lot slicker than you can get just a bare hand.
Yeah. Exactly.
And sometimes there is blood during fisting. And that's not usually a reason to panic unless there's also a lot of pain involved. But it's nice to have a barrier when blood might happen.
Right. I mean, I really like the aesthetics of gloves. I also really like them for cleanup. I think that when you're fisting someone with, like, your bare hand, it can be really fun to, like, slap them with that, like, cunty, like, fluidy hand, or, like, to make them suck, like, fluid off your finger. But you can totally do that with a glove, and then when you're done, you can just take it off and toss it.
And then you can cuddle without getting, like, cum all down their back.
Exactly. I mean, because... That's fine, but like,
once you're done, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you're done. Until you're not done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is that usually when I'm not fisting, I'm just going to be wearing one glove because I really only have one useful hand. I don't only have one useful hand. Both of my hands are good. But when I'm fisting, I do prefer to wear a glove on each hand because then I can have my hand inside somebody and I can be doing fun external stimulation things while still protecting their bits from my, dirt under my fingernails or, whatever else.
Or nail polish chipping off into your body.
Or like
hangnails or like dry skin.
Anything that's happening. Hands are
like, I love a calloused hand. I just, hot for someone who like does things. I don't know. But, I mean, sometimes those calluses can be really rough, especially in the delicate tissue of the butt or the front holes, cunts, pussies. Yeah. And on that note, let's talk about stimulation, while, fisting or before fisting.
Okay.
Yeah. So, when you are able to... stroke someone's, clit or their cock or their nipples or kind of rub your finger around their anus during, front hole fisting, it can really help someone kind of relax into the moment and help their body expand and take more of you inside. You can use a vibrator, you can use your fingers, you can use your mouth, and that can all be really, really hot.
Yeah, and it's really important that if you are fisting a hole that can expand, that you get it to expand.
Yeah.
Because you can't just use lube to get it big enough for your fist.
Right. Lube is great for taking away friction, but not for, like, helping the body kind of open up.
People are generally not sitting around with their bits wide enough open for you to put your whole hand in there. Right. Like, it takes working up to.
And so when you're really aroused, blood flows to like your genitals, and that's what kind of makes it open up. And so the front hole, the pussy, the cunt, is not a tube. It's an envelope, right? So it kind of like expands and opens up in that way. Yeah. So, I mean, so first, maybe go back to lube for a second. Yeah. So we talked about this in our first video, but I know my absolute favorite lube for fisting, is this also yours?
Yes.
Yeah, is Sliquid Sassy. Oh my god. I love Sliquid Sassy. It's a really fantastic, thick, water-based formula. It doesn't have glycerin or parabens in it. It's really not irritating, scentless, and tasteless. So it's different and better than most lube that you can find in any drugstore. Better sex toy stores will have this, and also
worse sex toy stores. Also worse sex toy stores generally have it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, hopefully, ideally you can find
Go to better sex toy stores if you can, if you have access to them.
But if you don't, check out like your local
sleazy sex toy store
with the sticky floors, which is okay, which is great.
And all the packaging with the women.
I know the women. And get some Sliquid Sassy. It's pretty fantastic. There's also Sliquid Oceanics, which has Sliquid Ocean. No, Sliquid Sea. Sliquid Sea. The one in this seafoam green bottle is.
They have a natural one that I think is blue.
It's thinner.
Oh.
Yeah. Sliquid Sea is good, nice and cushy. There's also an organic version of this called Sliquid Organics Gel, and it's the same formula, just organic, but this doesn't have any chemicals in it, so it's totally fine to use. And it's also scentless and tasteless, like I said.
Vegan, isn't it? Vegan?
And vegan, it is vegan. And maybe gluten-free?
It's probably gluten-free.
I love gluten. So you can totally use this for oral sex, too. You can use it for whatever. It's really great. I also really like silicone lube for fisting, and not by itself. I mean, I guess with like a smaller fist, you could make it work.
I've used it in a pinch, but it's not preferable.
Okay, so
it worked, but this was a person who was like experienced at being fisted, and this was like the only lube that we had, and it was fine.
So because this is so cushy, it adds a lot of really nice kind of like thick viscosity when you're having sex that has a lot of friction. Silicone lube is thinner, it's really, really slick, it never absorbs, and it's really great at reducing friction. It isn't, like I said though, it isn't thick. So I like to use a little bit of that around the opening of the vagina when you're having issues, kind of moving, when I'm having issues, moving with someone moving past like their knuckles into my cunt. I have pubic hair, and my pubic hair, like the rest of me, is pretty kinky. Ha! And so this can be really nice for cutting down some of that friction. It's pretty fantastic. You can't use it with any silicone toys, but it's really fantastic for hands. Totally safe to use with latex and nitrile, and with glass and stainless steel toys. It's
also really great because sometimes I have, like, if you want to use a little bit of both or like a mixture lube, because sometimes I have gotten inside somebody and then there's like a waiting period where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to wait for this person to produce a little bit more of their own natural lubrication before I can actually do any like moving around, because a lot of lube gets like wiped off the glove as you're on your way in.
Yeah, and you can totally. I mean, and I will say, don't like trust your own judgment. But and silicone lube will ruin your silicone toys. But I will say that if you're using mostly water-based lube, a drop of silicone lube with that probably won't ruin your silicone toy.
Let's start with like maybe a toy that isn't your favorite toy.
Or like a toy that's condomed or something like that. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then back to like sensations on parts of the body during fisting. We're at my house, so all of my toys are here. So these are two of my favorite toys for fisting. The first is like a little vibrator. You can barely see it because it's black. There's a little vibrator. This is a really fantastic rechargeable vibe that is really rumbly, has a nice deep rumbly vibration. I feel like when I'm being fisted, and especially for anal play, whenever I really need kind of like a deep a deep vibration to kind of help my body open up. A rumbly vibration is really great because it isn't like a surface buzzy. It hits kind of more of my body and deeper. So I really like this toy for that. It's also a classic.
Yeah.
This is the Hitachi Magic Wand. It's loud. It's not plugged in. It plugs in.
You can't get very far from the wall with this one.
The cord is really long, but it has a really just deep, intense vibration. You can totally put, I would actually recommend putting a glove over this just because it gives it more of a grip than a condom does. But just the vibrations are so deep, so amazing. Really great for any type of intense fucking. Also for like forced orgasm play. Fantastic for anal play as well. For like using this on like a cock or a clit while someone's fucking you in your holes. Let's just talk about like how to fist. We didn't do that in our first video.
We did a little bit of it.
Okay, so say there's someone in front of you. Say we're fisting you, dear viewer. Okay.
This is your hole right here. We're gonna put our fists in it.
Yeah.
No. I don't think it's gonna work.
Only if it's consensual. Like imagine that you are where someone is being fisted. So how do you start fisting someone?
You're gonna start with not your whole hand.
No, you're not gonna take your hand and just like this. Don't do that. I mean, unless if they say they want that, then you can do it.
I don't know a lot of people who are just ready.
No.
Even this person who was like, "Oh no, your hands are too small." Not just ready.
No.
Yeah.
So don't just do that. You can start with 1 finger or 2 fingers. Even someone like me, I'm super happy with 3 fingers at all times. 2 fingers is a great place to start. You can stroke upwards at the G-spot.
Any way that you might normally use your hands to be fucking somebody is a good way to work up to fisting.
Right, exactly. And you can kind of focus on like kind of moving in a circle, kind of helping the opening of the front hole to like get nice and flush and open. You're using lots of
lubricated.
Lots of lube.
Get it everywhere.
Right, everywhere, not just inside. At the opening too, because the opening of the front hole, vagina, cunt is very it is pretty elastic, but you want to make sure to have lots of lube there to prevent any tearing.
And also because that's the part that's gonna get the most, like the lube can rub off because you are going in and out.
Right.
While you're working up, maybe also while you're fisting.
Yeah, but, totally. I think that a great way to get more lube in place is to kind of, so eventually your hands you'll probably be here-ish with 4 fingers inside, kind of like that. If like
you're one person be
So, okay, do you see where? Okay.
What am I demonstrating?
I don't know.
So the way to put lube further inside is you're gonna put lube on the fingertips and then you're gonna tilt down as you go in so that it's not getting like rubbed off of your fingers, but you can really get it in, and then you go upward and then it will be spread along the inside, which is here.
And so, say you're fisting someone and you're using or you're fucking someone, you're using those 4 fingers, and then eventually your hand is going to be, you can get that little kind of duckbill situation, and it may feel really great to kind of fuck up to here. That can feel kind of easy for some bodies after a while of fucking like this. But how do you get past your knuckles, that wide part?
Okay.
This is rough.
So that is when major communication starts. Before, you might have just been like saying, "Oh, that's really hot, that's great." And then you say, "Would you like my fist?"
Yeah.
It's nice to check in.
Yeah, it is nice to check
Consent
in.
is really important.
Consent is hot. I on my foot in a weird way.
I'm sorry. Okay. So would you like my fist?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're going to start working up. Mm-hmm. Is this a good angle? Can you see things there? Okay, great. Yeah. And then you're gonna twist a little bit. It's not the same as a vagina. This thing.
My hand in a triangle. Well, so what you're going to do is you're going to twist, and you're going to twist because, right? It's
the knuckles are the widest part of the hand.
Here, so if you twist, so that is wider than that.
And remember that front holes. They are longer than they are wide.
Yes.
And it's an envelope, not a tube.
Right.
So you want to go in the way that is going to be easiest for it to tick.
And then...
Let's go for each other.
And then eventually you can turn your hands.
Once you've gotten past the widest part of your hand. So usually I'd say the safest is once you've gotten past the knuckle, the bottom knuckle of your thumb, is when you can start to turn back. Because then you're going to be getting smaller. Now, you might not always have all the room in the world for your hand. It isn't that everybody's hole goes this long.
Right.
And so you need to, as you're going in, you need to also be kind of, once you get past your thumb, then you may need to bring your fingers down so that you're not as long.
This is a fist, but sometimes you can form your hand into that.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a wider, more intense sensation where you're also using your knuckles when you're fucking.
Yeah.
And I think it's also really good to check in with someone at that point. So sometimes people will say, yes, do that, like, fist me.
Yeah,
more. Like, I'm known for yelling, fist!
And then you clench!
And then you clench. And then you can just hang out, you can kind of twist, you can rock, or you can, like...
The thing that we forgot to mention.
Yeah, what did we forget to mention?
You forgot. As you're going in. No, but the thing that we forgot to mention just now is, as you're going in, you have to say, how is this?
Oh.
You know? Is this, you know, do you need me to slow down? Is this a good pace? Should I wait here?
I mean, or it depends.
Listen to the person if you understand the person's body.
Yeah, it definitely depends on who you're fucking, though, just because I'm
Sometimes
super,
you can just get your hand
I'm
in there.
super communicative and will totally, and often... And also, my body feels smaller than it is. Like, it felt like cut is like usually it feels a bit tauter and like more resistant than I can actually take. And so oftentimes I'll like say more, and
it'll feel like there can't be any more.
Right, but then just do it.
Do whatever the person you're fucking tells you to do.
Right, and then sometimes they'll say stop or never mind, and then that's okay. It's not a problem. It's not, no one did anything wrong. It's just, you know, you're trying.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like all of your sex has failed if you can't get your whole hand inside a person. There's still lots of stuff you can do.
Yeah.
So when then we were talking about when you're inside and you can, something that I really like to do if people can take it is like, you know, you got your hand in the fist and then to just very gently sort of expand my hand outward. So, I mean, on a larger scale, it's like this.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it on a very small scale.
Yeah.
Because apparently things are impactful when there's a whole hand inside.
Yeah, most definitely.
Some people don't like that.
I can't imagine being able to do that with my hand.
Thanks for letting us talk to you about sex.
Happy fisting day.
Yeah. Enjoy yourselves.